Gwen-Maker-of-Things. I'm not sure how this answer is going to come out. Yeah, sometimes when an answer is revealing, I have no idea how its structure is going to become apparent. But Gwen-Maker-of-Things says, you've mentioned in recent builds, including your Sordimo Megasort, a feeling of vulnerability and intimacy with us, the audience. Your openness and willingness to share is a great inspiration and one of the best things about Tested. Have you always had this quality, or can you point to any formative moments that help you develop this side of you? I have so many formative moments that develop this side of me. Hang on, this is a note for later on in this discussion. So that feeling of vulnerability and feeling of intimacy of this relationship, of what we shoot at Tested, what I shoot, and how I interact with the audience. From the earliest age, I started to think about what it was to be a person. I was really clear that I wanted to self-improve. I wanted to know myself deeper. I wanted to get past the proclivities that were holding me back. I wanted to find the modalities within me where I could pursue my excellence. And also, I found my people first in the theater department in middle school and then in high school. I found acceptance in the theater community in middle school and in high school. And then I went to New York and I went to Tisch School for the Arts to study acting, and I didn't belong in that school, but I was freelancing at night as a projectionist at the 8th Street Playhouse. And the 8th Street Playhouse is where the Rocky Horror Picture Show fad began. The whole idea of the Rocky Horror Picture Show as a midnight film, it's all established at the 8th Street Playhouse. I know technically it spent a year at the Waverly before it moved over to the 8th Street Playhouse, but that's only a deep dive for those of us who really know the history. At any rate, there I was, weekend projectionist at the 8th Street Playhouse and projecting the Rocky Horror Picture Show in its home location. And this is where, like, there's at least 3 full casts of Rocky Horror that are dressing up as all of the characters, Riff Raff and Rocky and Janet and Brad. And as you can imagine, this was a deeply LGBTQ crowd. This was like the middle of the West Village gay subculture in the 80s. And it was an intense time in the 80s because AIDS was ravaging New York. Silence Equals Death was being spray painted all over the place. And I noticed something specifically about the LGBT community. I noticed that, for one, it accepted me whole cloth. And I say it, I just mean like everybody I met at the 8th Street Playhouse. And this is all sorts of different walks of life, all sorts of different histories and family histories. And I just felt completely accepted for who I was right away. And I noticed that. And I became really close friends with a couple of my managers, Ian and Chris, and hung out with them a ton. And I learned about great music from them, but mostly I just felt so cleanly accepted as a person. And then I started to notice that when my gay friends, my friends of different sexual orientations, would tell me about their histories, they were way, way harder than whatever I had to deal with. And we all have to recover from our childhoods. But, you know, it was where I learned that my parents, being loving human beings and putting things that were interesting in front of me, whatever their failings were, it was in that community that I got to see the tremendous amount of privilege I was raised with. And here were these remarkable human beings with incredible creative drive and so smart and so willing to, like, be themselves in this unassailably, like, amazing way. And I thought, each of these people, each of these folks who with a non-standard orientation to life had to confront this central fact, deal with it, accept it, and then tell the outside world. And I like, this is a reality. And I felt like what I noticed about this among my friends of differing orientations was that that journey made them almost to the last incredibly kind and forgiving and accepting. Now, later on, bookmark that. Later on, I start to realize that many of my favorite actors are comedians, that they got their start in doing stand-up comedy. And I start to think about why that is. And I tried a little stand-up comedy about 20 years ago. Chris Hardwick let me do a set on one of his first podcasts. And I went and did another set in Vegas a few weeks later, bombed so hard the second time. But I formed this theory in my head that one of the reasons that comedians make such good actors is because in order to be good at doing comedy on stage, you have to confront parts of yourself that most people don't in order to get to be funny on stage. So these are these two buckets that I had noticed growing up and growing older, that there was a value to introspection and a value towards being present with that introspection with others. Later on still, in 2012, Jamie and I started touring a science show around the world, around America and around the world. And we would do meet and greets every night. This is a very lucrative part of doing a tour, is the meet and greet, where 50 people pay to meet you at the end of the night. And they get a picture and you take a picture with them, you sign something. And the meet and greets were, as you can imagine, at the end of a 2-hour show, the meet and greet can be tiring. And I was back at my bus at the end of a meet and greet, and I was exhausted. And I was thinking, why am I so exhausted? I've told this story before, so forgive me if you've heard it already. But I realized I was exhausted because within a meet and greet, I can feel the pull from the person I'm talking to. They want a connection with me. And when you are in a social situation and someone is really pulling on that, it feels at first like something to be resisted. That's definitely how I felt. Like, okay, I can feel this person wanting a connection. They're telling me all these times I met them before, and I don't know what they want out of this. And I asked myself this night at the end of a meet and greet where I was tired, like, I'm tired because I'm protecting myself. I'm doing a lot of this mentally. Like, haha, yeah, right? And thinking, what am I protecting myself from? What danger might I physically be in? Not much. We've got people that can move this crowd through. I don't have to worry about each individual interaction. And I asked myself simply the rhetorical question, what if I gave everybody in front of me everything at that moment? And that was a real sea change for me because it made the meet and greets longer. We actually went to a 100-person meet and greet, and it felt shorter. And not only did it feel shorter, but like I wouldn't be able to get to sleep till 2, 3 in the morning because I was so sort of wired from the experience. And I feel the same thing when I go and do cons. Again, sorry, Pittsburgh, that I wasn't there this weekend, but that's my goal at cons too. Everybody who comes up, I'm going to give you all of my attention. You know, I've worked with a whole bunch of different people over the years, and several times I've worked with people who asked for a edit to be changed because they got mad during the filming of whatever we were filming, and they didn't want to be seen being mad. And I can't tell you that I'm happy with every bit of footage of me that's out there online. I've certainly like revealed myself in unexpected ways, but I view it as, for me, as axiomatic that being fully honest with you guys, with myself first, and then with the camera and with you guys and with this relationship, and being willing to be vulnerable because I can protect myself it's a value, and it's a value. Like I live within that value. I try as best I can to live within that value. Gwen-Maker-of-Things, thank you so much for that. Yeah, I went from the community at Beach. Sorry, I went from the community at Rocky Horror Picture Show to also spend 2.5 years as a backstage tech for Beach Blanket Babylon, another like drag queen review par excellence here in San Francisco, and met another deeply loving and amazing community that I still see from time to time. Um, and yeah, this is to me like this moment where our marginalized groups get more and more marginalized is very sad to me. Because in my experience, members of the LGBTQ, add all the letters you want, community are some of the most remarkable, loving, accepting, present, graceful human beings I have had the luck to be friends with and, call my colleagues and friends.
Thank you for watching. I wanted to talk to you about Tested membership. The Tested members are a key community that we find really, really remarkable. That's very separate from Tested and from YouTube. The Tested members, they buy each other memberships during our live streams. So if you're wondering whether to become a member, watch one of our live streams and someone may just give you one. It is hard to overestimate how much the Tested members actually make possible on this channel. They give us a lot of wiggle room. They give us a huge amount of feedback.
That's a member right now.
Thank you so much for enjoying your membership. Description for everything you need to know. And for all the members out there, thank you, thank you, thank you.